Good evening. My name is Barry Kennedy, and this is my discussion board on women in the Revolutionary period for HIUS 512 at Liberty. After reading the article on Betsy Ross is a very unique figure. A number of years ago, I had the opportunity when I visited Philadelphia to go down to the quote-unquote Betsy Ross house, which is not too far from Independence Hall. And there's all kinds of flags and patriotic symbols and very much a communication of patriotism and what it means, quote unquote, to be an American. I bring all this up because thinking in terms of the question of, well, why is Betsy Ross important, and why has the her reputation, been tarnished by evidence that perhaps she was not who her grandson claimed she was in terms of the flag maker? Well, I think in a lot of ways the answer to that question is because, one, she was extremely non-controversial as a figure, but two, because of the amount of patriotism that is focused around her, the creation of the flag, the love of the flag, the symbolism that is there. And again, that is evident in her local home. So using that as a backdrop, this week I picked the figure of Abagail Adams. Abagail Adams has always greatly intrigued me as someone who has been interested in John Adams for years. The letters back and forth between those two are extremely important. And if you think about it, Betsy Ross, very non-controversial. Abagail Adams would be technically controversial for some of her stances and the fact that she was John Adams' wife, who was not always the most popular man in the world. In his book titled John Adams, David McCullough described Abagail as being a very intelligent, a very determined woman, a woman that was able to use her abilities and really her own self-taught education with the influence of her brother-in-law as a tutor, reading works of Shakespeare and things like that, that really gave her a very unique worldview for someone of her time. She definitely was John Adams's best friend. They referred to each other commonly in their letters as their dearest friend. According to the National Women's History Museum, Abagail stood for some things that were not necessarily common at the time for a lot of people. Now, one of those things was she opposed slavery. Now, we realize that in the North, there's much more of an anti-slavery movement than in other parts of the United States, but she was adamantly opposed to slavery. In addition to that, she supported what we would definitely refer to as this National Women's History Museum website refers to. She supported the improvement for lives of girls and women through the process of education. She strongly supported the education of women and young girls. These are some things that would make her completely unique. Some other things that make Abagail Adams very unique and important to the Revolutionary period was the correspondence with her husband, John Adams, who was almost always away. Abagail had to literally run the family at home, run the entire home, oversee business farm operations, and was able to keep the family not only afloat but doing very well while Adams was in Philadelphia or when he was overseas as he was an ambassador. So she was a very successful woman in terms of being able to get these things accomplished and achieving goals such as, in part of the writings, she pledged or she wrote to John about the need for pens, and there was a communication about the women needed to make saltpeter that could be used for the ammunition, the rifles, the cannons, and things of that nature. So all of this is extremely important. But one last thing that must be mentioned about Abagail Adams in terms of her overall importance to this revolutionary period is when, according to the American revolution.org website through Colonial Williamsburg. She wrote on March the 31st, 1776, as the Second Continental Congress was considering the issue of independence. She told John to remember the ladies, that the husbands needed to remember the ladies because all men could become tyrants if they had unlimited power. So she very much stood for what we would consider today to be kind of a feminist point of view in terms of, not wanting her husband to forget about the women, opposing slavery, supporting women's education, all these other things. And it's for these reasons why I think Abagail Adams is one of the most important women of the entire Revolutionary period. And there are a lot of really important ladies that did a lot of great and wonderful things. But why is Abagail not remembered the same way as Betsy Ross? And I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. There is something about the American flag, that symbolism of freedom, that to a large number of Americans, whether fact or fiction, it is associated with Betsy Ross. For the most part, for most people, it's a non-controversial issue. And therefore, it's a symbol of why the revolution was fought. It was a symbol of liberty. It was a symbol of freedom. And therefore, she is a figure that has endured. Why Abagail Adams and some of these other ladies that were very involved and did a lot of great important things and were involved in the revolution more directly, they're not remembered as well. And again, when you're Abagail Adams and your husband is John, and he's known for being very loud and annoying, that's also probably not going to do you a whole lot of favors in terms of the social classes anyway. I hope everybody has a great and wonderful day, and thank you for watching my video.